all use Dart and Flutter DevTools to debug, inspect, and profile our apps. What kind of developer tools would you build if you could add anything you wanted to the DevTools suite? If your brain is churning with all of the tools that you'd build, I've got good news for you. With the Dart and Flutter DevTools Extensions framework, you can. What exactly is a DevTools extension? Why would you want to use it? And how can you build one yourself? Welcome to another episode of The Build Show. It's time for a deep dive into the Dart and Flutter DevTools Extensions framework. I recently built an app called AI Theme Builder. It uses the Google AI Dart SDK to generate themes for Flutter apps. For example, I can ask for a blue dark mode theme. It gives me the code, and I can export it to a file. I brought this up to the DevTools folks, and they asked me, have you considered making this app into a DevTools extension? No, I had it. What do you mean? A DevTools extension is a developer tool that is built as a Flutter web app and shipped to developers as part of a package. DevTools then embeds the web app in an iframe. That's it. Plus, the extensions framework lets developers build tooling for Dart and Flutter on top of the existing DevTools tooling suite. It provides access to all the services and utilities that DevTools itself uses. Let's talk about how you can take a Flutter web app like this AI theme builder and turn it into a DevTools extension. Keep in mind as we go through this process that an extension can be shipped as part of an existing package or as a standalone package. In this case, the AI theme builder is a standalone extension, but you can also choose to add an extension to an existing package. If you don't already have a Flutter web app that you want to turn into an extension, you can create one using Flutter Create. We already have the AI theme builder project, so let's jump to the root of that project directory. Here, we'll create a new extension DevTools directory. By the end of this video, this directory will contain a build folder with the precompiled code for our DevTools extension to be shipped as part of this pub package. While we're here, let's also create a config.yaml file. This configuration file contains the metadata that DevTools needs to load our extension, such as the package name, version number, a link to the issue tracker, and a material icon to be displayed in the extension's DevTools tab. For the most up-to-date information on the config.yaml requirements, see the spec available in the DevTools extensions package. But Khanh, doesn't putting the extension source code within the package inflate the package size? Yes, it does. However, the AI theme builder extension is going to be a standalone extension that developers will add as a dev dependency. So it's okay to include the source code in the package because dev dependency source code doesn't get compiled into the end user's app. Plus, this project structure helps to simplify the extension development process as well. Alternatively, if developers are importing the package as a regular dependency for their app, we will want to optimize for a smaller package size, so the file structure will look a bit different. In that case, we'll put the extension directory and its contents within the package that's providing the extension, but keep the extension source code outside of the pub package to keep the package size as small as possible. Now that the file structure has been settled, let's add some DevTools integrations. We'll start by adding a couple dependencies for building DevTools extensions with Flutter pub add DevTools extensions and DevTools app shared. Now we'll import the DevTools extensions package. This is where the magic happens. We'll go ahead and wrap the root of the app in a DevTools extension widget. But wait, before we do that, we'll remove the material app at the root of our app because the DevTools extension widget already has one. Notice how the color scheme updates to match the DevTools default theme. Pretty cool, right? The DevTools extension widget also takes care of initializing everything that you need to interact with DevTools. This includes the material app, DevTools theming, and all the different DevTools services and utilities that we'll use in our extension. Now, this is where the DevTools app shared package comes in. This package provides access to a variety of DevTools managers, utilities, and helpers that can be used in our extension. Let's import the package into our code. Part of the package is the UI library. It has pre-built widgets and styling configurations to make our extension look and feel integrated with DevTools. Since Dart and Flutter developers are already familiar with the DevTools UI, using this library in our extension makes it more intuitive for devs to learn and navigate our UI. If you're building a DevTools extension from scratch, you can start building from the beginning with these components. But since we built this AI theme builder with generic material widgets, let's replace just a few of them with widgets from the DevTools UI library. That way it fits into DevTools a bit better. Here, instead of a row, we can use the DevTools split widget. Functionally, it's similar to a row, but the end user can adjust the panel sizing. Next, we can also replace the buttons with the DevTools button. For the finishing touch, we'll replace the center widget on the API key widget with the DevTools dialog widget. Give it a title and style the Get API key link with the DevTools link text style. Notice how the UI library defines the DevTools link text style. It also defines many of the other foundational values used in the DevTools design system, including color tokens, spacing, border radius, elevation, and even animation curves. Those will come in handy in case you need to build any custom widgets from scratch. Now that we've completed the UI, let's move on to the services and utilities that DevTools exposes. The Dart tooling daemon, or DTD for short, is hot off the press and now available on Flutter's beta branch release. DTD has access to the file system for a given project, as defined by the IDE or by the application's run target. If they're running an app, it can read from and write to the project files. DTD is automatically started by the user's IDE with the Dart extension, or it can be started from the Dart or Flutter CLI tools. DevTools App Shared provides a DTD Manager global variable, which hooks into the DTD service. This means extensions can call the DTD Manager to read from and write to the connected app's project files, and call services registered by other DTD clients. In the Export Buttons callback, we'll get the DTD Manager's connection and use it to write the generated theme code to a file. Keep in mind, the extension only has permission to write to the workspace folders that are open in the developer's IDE or to the root directory containing the connected app's entry point. We can get the roots for the connected app's workspace by calling get IDE workspace roots. It's possible for the developer to have more than one workspace root. In that case, we'd want to give the developer the option to pick which root they want to write to. But for this demo, we'll assume they only have one root in their workspace. Now that the code's been written to a file, wouldn't it be cool for us to reload our connected app and use the code that we just generated? Another utility provided by DevTools App Shared is the global variable service manager. We can call it from anywhere in our extension to access the Dart VM service and communicate with the connected app that we're debugging. For example, we can use the service manager to trigger a hot reload or restart. After the DTD manager writes to the file, we'll have the service manager initiate a hot restart by calling the perform hot restart method. There's also a perform hot reload method, but since we're writing the theme to a separate file to be imported, it'll need a hot restart. Those are a few of the DevTools services and utilities that made sense for the AI theme builder, but there's plenty more utilities for you to pick from depending on your extension's functionality. There's getting and setting global variables, auto-dispose mixin, which lets us add listeners that will automatically dispose as part of the stateful widget lifecycle, list value notifier, which is a change notifier that holds a list of data and exposes methods to interact with the data itself. You can also call service extensions that our package registers and perform expression evaluations. That's just a handful of the utilities that are available, so pop on over to the DevTools App Shared docs to find what you need. As always, we'll also have it linked in the video description below. Now, you might be wondering, how do we run and debug a DevTools extension while still in development? I'm glad you asked. There's a simulated DevTools environment that we can use. The environment wraps our web app with an environment that simulates a DevTools to extension connection. It even gives us access to things like hot restart and a faster development cycle because we don't have to compile the extension every time to test. We can launch the simulated environment by running the extension as a web app with the environment variable useSimulated set to true. We'll want to start another Flutter app to simulate the app that our extension will be connected to. Let's run our test app. Now let's copy and paste the connected app's VM service URI and DTD service URI. This step is only required for testing the extension in the simulated DevTools environment. When a developer runs their app, the VM service and DTD connection will be automatically configured with the DevTools server, and our extension will inherit those connections. Now we can trigger the same actions in the simulated environment that a developer might use from within DevTools. Things like hot reload, hot restart, and writing to files using DTD. Let's ask for a blue dark mode theme. That code looks correct to me. We can export it to our project file and use it in our app. Great. Since everything's looking good in the simulated environment, let's package up the extension so that we can test it in a real DevTools environment. In the project directory, we'll run flutter pub-get to get all of our dependencies. Now we'll run the DevTools build and copy script with the destination path being the extension DevTools directory that we created earlier. That script will build the web app and copy the outputted build directory containing our compiled source code to the extension DevTools directory. Then we'll use the Dart run DevTools Extension's validate command to verify that our extension configuration is error-free. Finally, we can test our new extension by adding the package as a dev dependency in our test app's pub spec. We'll specify it as a path dependency that points to the local package source code. Once that's done, run a Flutter pub get in our test app project and run the app. We can open the DevTools instance that was started, and voila! There's our DevTools extension blending right in with the rest of the DevTools suite. Let's ask for a pastel pink theme that uses a serif font. That code looks about right. Let's export it. Now our connected app can use the new generated theme. Sweet! Everything looks good with the extension, and we could technically stop there if we're only going to be using this extension locally. However, if we want other developers to have easy access to this extension too, we've got one more step. We'll want to publish our package to pub.dev. We can do that by running flutter pub publish. Now other Dart and Flutter developers can import our package and use our extension too. And that's how you build a DevTools extension. If you've been itching to build some developer tooling that makes Dart and Flutter developers more productive, this is the perfect opportunity. DevTools extensions are a great way to build tools that leverage everything that the DevTools suite has to offer. Be sure to check out all the resources that we have linked in the description below to get started. And finally, I recently had the opportunity to sit down with Joe from the Google AI team to talk about using AI to generate Flutter themes. So if you're curious to learn more about the inspiration behind this DevTools extension, check out the Build with Google AI episode linked in the description below. Thanks for joining this episode of the Flutter Build Show, and until next time, remember to keep on building.